My name is Hannah Perez, and this is my poster board. I'm going to talk about an article that was from my case study that I really liked and I really enjoyed reading. Basically, it's about how child abuse, when like a serial killer experiences child abuse, like this can affect how they kill their victims and like why they want to kill them and like stuff like that. Um, so yeah, begin the abstract. Early child abuse and trauma are seen in serial killers. Many experience some type of abuse as kids, which is one of the reasons why most serial killers start killing. Research showed that the BSA approach could determine the different types of abuse that was experienced, which could later tell how serial killers end up killing their victims. And that was from the article I chose, so that's where it's cited. A sample of 233 serial killers that were all male was collected between different countries in the world, showing how many of these men were abused as children, then later on in life ended up killing. Um, the research showed how these different types of abuse, whether it be physical, emotional, or sexual, shows why these serial killers kill and how they kill their victims. Some objectives I have um, is to understand the different types of abuse that these serial killers go through as kids, because it's pretty traumatic and it's, one of the reasons why they want to kill and they have these urges to kill because they grew up around that. And yeah. Um, to acquire knowledge about how the behavior sequence analysis is used in research to understand the relationship between progressions of behaviors and social interactions occurring over time. Um, to understand how different types of abuse could lead to how serial killers decide to kill their victims. So again, when these people experience some type of abuse, physical, sexual, or psychological, it shows later on in life why they kill and what kind of things they do to their victims, some horrible things that they do. The abuse shows what they do. So yeah. Um so for methods, um and so again, an all-male sample of 233 serial killers were selected. Um, the sample was split according to the types of abuse each of the men experienced. The behavior sequence analysis approach was used for the typology of each serial killer, then was coded, so lust, rape, power, financial gain, or anger. And then a coding scheme was then developed based on every recorded behavior reported in the data. So I have three charts here, 3 grams. These are all from the article that I chose. I then cited all three of them. So the first diagram, um, it's for physical abuse, the typology, and the crime scene behavior. So, what was found at the crime scene, what they collected. So, for physical abuse, there was a difference between the experience of physical abuse and rape and lust and anger. Um, the rape and lust typologies, they were most likely going to kill their victims quickly. Um, and most of the serial killers, they bound their victims. They overkill their victims and they left the body at the crime scene, so they didn't care. So yeah. So it shows right there, physical rape lust, carried out quickly, and yeah, they left their body at the crime scene. Figure 2, so again, it's a diagram for psychological abuse, typology, and crime scene behavior. Um, so for psychological abuse, there was a distinct sequence between rape and lust, and psychological abuse, and financial gain. So they killed their victims quickly, and like the reason why, or like why they were motivated, was to gain power or financial gain. There was a strong link of torture and evidence of overkill, and the evidence of overkill and mutilation of the body as well. So that's on diagram 2. You can't really see it, it's kind of small, but it just shows right there at the bottom. And for this last figure right here, figure 3, so again it's for, that one's for sexual abuse, typology, and crime scene behavior. So this was linked to all 4 typologies, so rape and lust. And they are more likely to torture their victims if they've been sexually abused. They carry out the murder really quickly, and anger was also showed while they were, killing their victims. They were really upset. And there was some financial gain, and there were strong links between torturing and binding their victims. Sorry. Yeah. And yeah, and then they also bound their victims and mutilated them as well. So those are all the 3 diagrams right here that I chose. Again, they were from the article, and I cited them right here. And then, so for all of the 3 types of abuse, so the combination of sexual, physical, and psychological, they all experience the rape lust typology for killing, and they were more likely to lead the victims being bound than the killers carrying out their murders quickly. These people who killed for anger, they're more likely to, kill their victims quickly. So yeah, that's all I have to say about those 3 diagrams. You can't really see them. But so then for discussion, so the main goal of the study was to examine whether there was a different outcome that occurs after experiencing different types of abuse as a child, which lead to typologies, motivations, and how these serial killers decide to kill their victims. Results showed that different types of abuse could affect later typologies and how they decide to kill their victims. Those who experienced physical abuse could later lead to aggression and violence. So again, those, when they experience that type of abuse, they're so angry at the world, and they do that towards their victims because that's how they get these urges and these fantasies, and they want to let their anger out on people. And then those who experience sexual abuse, they're more likely going to bind, torture, and mutilate victims. And then those who were physically and psychologically abused as children, they often overkill their victims. And those motivated by power did not torture any victims. So those who wanted power and financial gain, they weren't gonna torture them. They just like that feeling of killing somebody. So my conclusion, in conclusion, serial killers have different but the same types of childhood. They go through something, but they're all different in their own way. Most serial killers experience some type of abuse as children, which leads up to what motivates them to kill and how they kill their victims. Some have remorse, some do not. The BSA approach was useful in this study. For these serial killers, this research showed the importance of child abuse and how it could later on affect how serial killers kill and what motivates them. Knowing these types of abuse could help prevent any future serial killers. So if you see somebody going through this, you can kind of prevent it, kind of tell somebody and you know, you know, those, I mean, not everybody who experiences some type of abuse will be, end up killing people, but it's better to be aware and